Hey guys, I had a request to do maybe a video on working pieces that are square shaped, like like basically cube shaped. A lot of flint and chert forms in layers, like in beds. Some of it forms in nodules, and but some of it forms in layers. And a lot of times when the ground shifts and it freezes and thaws and all that, it'll fracture. And a lot of times it kind of fractures on a diagonal. There'll be like lines going this way, and then lines going that way, and they end up being kind of rectangular, cube shaped pieces. And those 90-degree edges are really hard to work with. So what I usually do, maybe I can draw it out here. So if you had a really square shaped piece, what I usually do is nip off a corner. I'll always start on a corner. Now, depending on how wide it is and thick it is or thin it is, sometimes you can just zigzag. You can come down and strike down on the corner on one end, and you flip it and then strike down the other way, and it'll end up leaving a serpentine edge. And what that does is leaves platforms for you, so you can come back and then drive your flakes across the piece. But a lot of times what I'll do is I'll come down, I'll nip the corner off. So if you strike down on the corner like this, you can knock a flake off like this. And then you would flip it over, and then so this lessens that steep angle, that 90-degree angle here, and it gives you a platform to hit. So then you would come in and strike in this direction and drive a flake off back this way. And sometimes, depending on how the length of the piece and stuff, sometimes you can get it to take that whole ridge or corner off, and that'll give you a place to hit when you flip it over, and a lesser angle. Hopefully that's making sense. But if the flake doesn't go all the way, then you can just turn around and do the same thing on this corner. Knock a flake down and come back this direction, and have your flakes meet. And that's a good way I've found to deal with square edges, like really square edges on like cube shaped pieces. But I don't have any like really square pieces, but I do have some stuff. Maybe it'll be laying on my piece of chert. Yeah, I did find this one. So this is a piece of fort pane, and it's kind of cube shaped, so I think this will serve the purpose. So I would probably start down here normally, because this is a thinner area. I'd probably start on this corner here, but just for the sake of the video, I'll start on this thicker side here. Let's see if we can kind of do what I was talking about. So this isn't a completely straight 90-degree angle, but I'll come down and I'll nip this corner off right here. Okay, that lessened that angle a little bit, and then I'll turn it back around here. Let's see, I'm gonna have to get it. A little bit less of an angle there, so I can reach in there to that corner. Now I'll try to drive down this corner right here and drive this off. maybe. There it went. Okay, see how that drove all the way down through there. And it's actually thinning, you know, it's helping thin the piece out. But that got rid of a lot of that square edge. So you can do that, and then a lot of times you can even come back down the other direction, nip the corner off. Steepen that up just a little bit more. Come back at it the other way. So that you're getting more of a knife edge there, or a thin edge. Another way you can do it is just zigzag it. So you start on a corner, same thing, nip a corner off there, and then basically just come at it from both directions, flip it back and forth, back and forth. But when you do that, a lot of times, especially if you have kind of a narrow piece, you'll lose a lot of width, or lose some width. So if you're trying to preserve width, that running those flakes down the, you know, down the length of the piece is a really good way to go about it. But you can zigzag it or wigwag it or whatever you want to call it. This is, I think, what most people usually do. Come back this other direction here. A lot of times that'll leave you with nice platforms back and forth. This thing wasn't really, it's kind of odd shaped, so they're kind of all lined up on this one face, but you can come through and raise them up if you needed to. But I actually prefer this method where you run them down the length of the piece, especially if it's a narrow piece. You don't have a lot of width to work with. You want to get rid of that squareness is your main goal. Raise this edge up a little bit and come back across this way. That's how I do it usually, and it really helps preserve the width. And but yeah, so I guess that's it. Not too involved, just nipping that corner off and getting that, you know, you want to support that edge going down through there when you're trying to drive that big long flake back the length of the piece. You want to kind of give it some surface support, you know, on the surface when you hit it. But usually it'll drive a big flake right down the corner, and it'll give you a nice angle there where you can come back and drive flakes across, you know, across the width of it. So hope that helps, guys. Appreciate it. If anybody has any questions, any ideas for something, you know, a short little video I can do, and if you're having trouble with something, I can help. I'm glad to. So it inspires me to get off my butt and make some videos. So hope y'all are doing well, and see you next time.